Stand by for another sensational GB News exclusive, because before the ink was even dry on Keir Starmer's border security deal with the Chinese, GB News today can reveal that the deal is likely to have little, if any, impact on the supply of small boat engines to people smugglers. We've been told the organised crime groups have become increasingly distrustful of Chinese-supplied engines because they conk out in the Channel. And now instead they're sourcing most of their engines from outside of China. And our Homeland Security editor Mark White has the scoop, and indeed he has the video proof. Mark White, welcome to the show once again. We were told by Sir Keir Starmer this was it. One of the silver bullets to finally stop the boats, to smash the gangs. We will clamp down on motors being exported from China. Let's all go home, lads. This situation has simply been solved. Your footage blows this, literally, pun intended, out of the water.
Yeah, I mean, we had really found it a little odd when this announcement was made about China this morning, because I'm not saying that motors don't come from China, motors and component parts, they do, but increasingly they are not, because of the fact that the people smugglers have really been very disenchanted with the service that they've got from these backstreet factories in China. So we sent our producer Chris down to the compound in Dover, where a lot of the engines that are, all of the engines that are seized along with the boats are stored, just to see whether the engines there are Chinese engines or other makes. And you can see in the images, and Chris confirmed this to us, he knows his engines, having sort of worked with them day in, day out. And he confirmed to us that the majority of the engines that he was seeing there are the higher end engines, which absolutely tally with the information that we've been getting from our sources, which is over the last year, people smugglers had really come up against multiple incidents where these engines failed on them and the boats were forced to turn back or be, for the people on board to be rescued by the French. And every time that happens, that's £250,000 on average for each small boat. On one particular day last year, 5 boats with these Chinese engines in them all failed. That's £1.25 million. So you can see why the people smugglers would be thinking enough is enough and they want to go to other suppliers. And that's what they've increasingly been doing over recent months. And the majority now, we're told, of the boat engines that are coming across are not those cheap copies that are manufactured by the Chinese.
Well, for the benefit of people listening on the radio who can't see that footage, let's get that footage on again. It's incredible. I've been to this dinghy compound. It's about a couple of miles down the coast there at Dover. It looks like an elephant's graveyard of failed government policy. Look at it. Raft after raft, motor after motor, hundreds and hundreds of the things, and that's the legacy of what's landed on our shores and has simply been put into a compound. And clearly there you're proving evidence, first-hand evidence, they are not cheap Chinese imitations, the sort of things that Sir Keir Starmer is trying to block. They are something quite different. And also, there's this thing called eBay, isn't there, Mark White? I mean, if I want to buy something, I go to eBay. Well, people smugglers probably do too. So I had a quick look this morning. Look at that. 28,000 outboard motors presently for sale on eBay as we speak. Now, by my rough maths, 65,000 illegals across the Channel since the Labour Party won the general election. Let's say there's 50 per boat. It's often more than that. But to be charitable, that's 1,300 boats. Mark White, that's 21 and a half years' supply of outboard motors you can buy on eBay today. Even if every motor produced in China was stopped today, there's still more than 2 decades worth simply to buy on eBay.
And that's only on eBay. There are plenty outboard motors there that can be purchased on behalf of criminal gangs by these third-party brokers who can do that for them. And that was the model that they had originally adopted when they first started out. It was only, Martin, when they decided that they wanted to maximise their profits that they looked to the backstreet factories in China to produce outboard motors, it would be a lot cheaper. Well, in doing that, the Chinese, well, what are they sort of infamous for? It is copying, not providing real bona fide outboard motors from a manufacturer, but actually getting the specifications and knocking them up themselves. But in doing that, they're a lot less reliable. So they're now reverting back to a process of getting more reliable motors simply because they know that, weighed up against maximizing profit or losing profit if the engines break down, then it's better just to go with engines that you can trust. And that's why it's all a little odd, this deal with China. Yes, it might have some effect, but I don't think it's going to have any real effect at all, Martin, because quite simply, once again, the people smugglers are way ahead of the UK authorities here, and we're already switching away from that particular supply chain model.
Every time your phone connects to public Wi-Fi, anyone nearby could snoop on what you're doing. Hackers can steal your information, passwords, photos, and bank details in just seconds. ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. ExpressVPN is so easy to use. With just one click of a button, you're protected. Streaming, banking, or shopping, you can switch between high-speed servers worldwide in seconds, and your connection never slows down. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free, all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Protect your online life today.
Well, as you said so adeptly earlier on, Keir Starmer's Chinese takeaway was meant to be sweet. It's turned sour before the day is even out. Mark White, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. Now, let's move on to my guest in the studio. I'm delighted to be joined by Reform UK's Head of Policy, and that's Zia Youssef. And also, of course, I'm joined by GB News' Chief Political Correspondent, Catherine Forster. Mr. Youssef, I wonder if I could come to you first for your immediate reaction to this astonishing situation with this Chinese deal.
It's one of the most insane things I've ever heard. Only Keir Starmer could respond to the real-time invasion of the United Kingdom by people coming from France to the UK via the English Channel by going, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to China to solve this problem. It's utterly, utterly insane. And people should treat it, frankly, with the contempt it deserves. And look, we're talking about these motors for dinghies. They're motors for dinghies. It's not enriched uranium. Right? Like, to your point, on eBay, there's tens of thousands on there. These are very straightforward to get hold of. So I actually think we're paying all of this far too much credit. I mean, really great work by GB News to point out that, that actually even the people smugglers don't want to use the knockoff Chinese goods. But isn't that an indictment of this country right now, Mark? We are being invaded in real time. And I use that word invasion advisedly, because we're in a situation where more people have turned up on our beaches, most of the military-aged men from countries that hate us, they've turned up on our beaches uninvited than stormed the beaches of D-Day, of Normandy on D-Day. And it is an absolute disgrace. What we need is to actually uphold our immigration law. We need to leave the ECHR, derogate from every international treaty that would otherwise frustrate deportations. Say, you know what, if you're in this country illegally, you will be detained and you will be deported. That's how you stop the boats from coming, not from going to China and parade and trumpeting some policy about reducing supply of dinghy motors.
OK, of course, some people would say that the word invasion is a touch close to the bone, but just to point that one out,